This is the official EFL Podcast.
Hello again and welcome to the official EFL Podcast, previewing and reviewing the best of the match action across the EFL and its competitions. On this week's edition of the show, we're looking back at the Sky Bet playoff finals. Joining me to discuss all three matches are Sky Sports pundits Andy Hinchcliffe and Don Goodman. Firstly, guys, we had a little sporting wager for our predictions before the match. Not very successful for me, not getting any one of the three matches correct, but you two both ending its level on 2 apiece. Andy, you must have been delighted with predicting that Villa would win to level it with Don there right at the death.
More than delighted. I was a little bit nervous. The last 10 minutes when Derby got the goal back, were putting pressure on. I know Villa fans were nervous. I was nervous thinking I'm not going to be able to draw level with Don here. So I was just as nervous as all those Villa fans in Wembley as well. But it was What the 3 wonderful games as well. What a brilliant kind of playoff 3 days that we had. They're normally fantastic, but these games had a bit of everything, didn't they? They were really, truly brilliant.
And Don, for you, obviously, Derby let you down in the end, didn't they? But 2 out of 3 isn't bad, really, is it? And of course, you're spending your winnings now in Portugal.
I can't believe that Hinchy was sweating as much as anybody connected with Derby. I'm not having that. But joking aside, no, they didn't let me down. I really felt for them in the end. You know what? It was a case of there was a decision to be made. First of all, I echo Hinchy's thoughts that all three games were excellent, and of course it's heartbreaking for those that don't prevail, and none more so than Derby. They had dilemmas with team selection prior, which way do you go, and so on and so forth. It just never worked out for them. But congratulations to Villa, to Tranmere, and to Charlton.
Yes, and the first match we're going to look back at is that Championship playoff final between Aston Villa and Derby County. To remind us of what happened in the match, here is Andy Hinchcliffe alongside Daniel Mann.
Grealish's delivery. Oh, chaos reign there to Anzebe! Well, that's a massive escape for Derby. It's really poor from that position. He's under no pressure. Doesn't have to go for power, just side foot it goalwards. Abraham thinks to turn it inside the box now. Well, first opening for him. He's not had a look in really yet, Tammy Abraham, but that's what he can do, and he'll be disappointed he's not took that in the top corner. Here's Mount, straight at Steer. Right, similar to the Grealish chance, exactly where Mason Mount wants to be. He's right down the goalkeeper's throat. Here's Adoma. Abraham pointing the way in the middle. El Mohammedi's on hand here. Well, the battle on, and in! El Ghazi arrives! And closing in on half-time, the breakthrough comes for Aston Villa. For the first time really in the game, it's a quality ball into the box. They don't rush it in there, they take their time. It's a perfect ball in, takes the centre-halves out of the game. So it's the full-back round on the cover. Does he get there first? No, he doesn't. Maybe comes off his shoulder. But for Villa and El Ghazi, they do not care. El Ghazi. And it's going to go in! It's going to go in from John McGinn, and Villa in complete command. It looks like the opportunity has gone. Once this shot is deflected, they should be dealing with this. The keeper should be dealing with this. He's trying to let the ball drop into his arms. He's got to be punching this clear. He's got to appreciate that he's going to get closed down. McGinn's going to try and get to the ball first. So as a keeper, you've got to clear everybody out. Don't try and catch it. Punch it clear. That's a horrendous error. They shouldn't be scoring from this position, Aston Villa. But at 2-0, it's a long, long way back now for Derby. Bogle's free over here. That's the ball. Bogle away from El Ghazi. Well, they were waiting and watching in the middle. Well, if you're going to shoot, you've got to go across the goal. He's onside. El Ghazi sells himself, but look at Waghorn, arms up. Just roll the ball into my path and I make it 2-1. Marriott near post. Tamori. Josefsson. Tamori. Marriott! Fractions away. Fine margins in the Championship playoff final. This could have got Derby back in it. Drilled by Tamori, and Waghorn has an opportunity. Tyrone Mings with a critical challenge for Aston Villa. Now it's Josefsson. Oh, and in! It's him again! Jack Marriott! Super sub strikes once more. That's why Marriott was sent on. When an opportunity comes along like this, you just take it a sure first touch, set yourself, and put the ball in the back of the net, and he's done that, and it is game on now. Everybody caught up in the emotions of it all. Kelleros to fire it downfield. Richard Keogh didn't rise as high as Abraham. This is Johnson, out towards Wilson. It was off centre away. Give him a handball, I think. That's it! The fallen giants are back on their feet. Aston Villa, one of the great clubs in English football, return to the elite. And Dean Smith, a man steeped in the cause, has guided them there. If at first you don't succeed, come back next year and try again. The pain is banished. Aston Villa celebrate the pleasure of promotion to the Premier League.
So yes, Aston Villa holding on there to eventually beat Derby by 2-1 in the playoff final and secure their place in the Premier League. Here's the reaction of their manager, Dean Smith, after the match.
It feels amazing. My club to come to the home of football at Wembley with the backing that we had, and to win the game and get promoted to the Premier League, and now to become a Premier League manager is an awesome feeling. Probably hasn't sunk in yet. It will. I mean, I keep getting asked questions about facing up against Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp next season, but I'm just incredibly proud of everybody to do with Villa, the supporters today, our staff, but most of all our players. From the day we walked in there, they've embraced everything that we've wanted to do with them, and they deserve that today.
You know this club so well. What does it mean to everyone associated with Aston Villa?
It means a hell of a lot. They came here last year and got beat in the final, so to come back and win it is a tremendous feeling for all of them. People ask me what it feels like for the football club. It feels right. This football club is a Premier League club in all but name until we win a game today. And we're looking forward to going and pitting our wits. I think the potential with the owners we have is massive, and looking forward to it.
How much are you looking forward to Premier League football? Are you going to enjoy this first, or are you already started planning?
To be honest, we've had two plans in tandem. From the moment we played Millwall and got through to the playoffs, we've had to plan as our baseline was Championship football, and the next step was the Premier League. And thankfully we've got there now, and we'll look forward to it.
Looking back now at that 10-match winning run, how important was that in the story of your season?
It was massive, and in all honesty, we actually didn't know. We were so focused on each game in isolation. It wasn't until we'd won 8 games, I think somebody told me, we could be on for a record here. And that's how focused the group were and how hard they've worked. And, credit to all of them.
Just a word on Jack Grealish. Like you, he supports this club. What will it mean to him personally?
It'll mean the world to him. He's gone through the heartbreak of losing here last year. he's a fine human being. He really is. He's liked by everybody, at the football club, and he's Villa through and through. You saw what happened at Birmingham City and the way he handled it and dealt with it. Scoring that goal was the best day of his life. I'm sure this tops it now.
How do you see him faring in the Premier League? He's up there, isn't he?
I've not coached in the Premier League, so it's very difficult for me to say. But he's an immense talent, best player I've worked with, and I believe he'll be like a duck to water.
Is there any better way to get promoted than through the playoffs here at Wembley?
I don't know, because I've not been promoted before. It was nice to see Chris Wilder on the pitch. He's a few weeks ahead of me. It just feels great. It's a final. You win a trophy at the home of Wembley, at the home of football, as I say, and with all them supporters backing us, that makes it tremendous.
So, firstly, Andy, looking at the way both sides lined up in the Championship final, will Aston Villa have been confident when seeing Derby's team sheet when they saw the way that they were going to play in that match?
Well, we knew how Villa were going to play. They always play 4-3-3. Who was going to play on the right-hand side was the only question that Oma came in. So that wasn't a surprise. But with Derby, what happened in that second leg at Ellen Road, it was the team sheet was all important. How are they going to play? And yeah, I was a little bit surprised seeing Tom Huddleston in there and Mason Bennett, and with Waghorn and Marriott on the bench. Immediately the teams came out, I had texts from 3 or 4 Derby fans, really, really surprised and shocked at what Frank had done. They felt they probably should have been a little bit more proactive, taking the game a little bit more to Villa. But it's very easy to say this. I understand what Frank was looking to do. Was trying to contain Villa and then maybe win it from the bench. That could easily have worked. But I think it's the timing that the goals went in, and they were poor goals, defensive errors as well. So Frank, he took his chance. He had a game plan. It was kind of a token diamond in many ways. When they didn't have the ball, it was 4-2-3-1 with Bradley Johnson sitting deep. When they did have the ball, he stepped forward into like a diamond shape. So I think Frank was caught between kind of two ways of playing. Rather than choosing one way and sticking with it, a 4-2-3-1 or a diamond, he was trying to kind of fluctuate between both, and always difficult to do. But they weren't at 0-0. Things were pretty fine. It's just a mistake. Obviously, the first goal goes in. That changes the picture. And he probably was going to make changes just before McGinn scores. But it goes to 2-0. You're then forced to make changes. They were more positive when the subs came on, but then they're 2-0 down, so it's too much to actually retrieve. At 1-0 down, they could easily have retrieved it. But once Bruce makes that mistake, tries to catch the ball rather than punch it clear or catch it at its high point, the game is probably beyond Derby, and then that kind of game plan goes out the window. But yeah, the Derby fans I spoke to were disappointed that either Waghorn, Marriott, or both didn't start the game.
Yeah, was that a mistake from Frank, just not making those changes earlier in the game, maybe, with Waghorn and Marriott obviously making a difference when they did come on after the hour mark?
Yeah, it's always easy. I think with hindsight, we look back and say, yeah, just before McGinn scores, make the change there, or half-time, make the change. But again, you can't legislate for those mistakes, and then suddenly your hand is forced, and you've got to then send those players on. But it's all about timing. If the keeper catches that ball, we get past the hour mark, and then he sends on his 2 subs at 1-0 down. They could easily have won the game, or it could have gone to extra time. You never know. But it's just, again, once it went 2-0, and how poor that second goal was, it was a real slap in the face for Derby. Then they're going to force the issue. They do get the goal back, had a couple of half chances as well. So it could have been very different. So I've not gone maybe as overboard as a few people have, saying, Frank tactically got it completely wrong. I don't think he got it completely wrong. I understand exactly what he was trying to do, and it's just the timing of the goals kind of then maybe forced the issue, and he wasn't in control of when he made his changes, which ideally is a coach he wants to be.
Of course, though, it's not the place you want to, learn a playoff final in defeat, but I mean, he will have learned an incredible amount from this experience, though, won't he, Frank Lampard?
Absolutely, and it's going to kind of develop him as a coach. It's just you're right in the spotlight. It's the highlight of the season and a great chance to get to the Premier League. And it's these fine margins. We know what they're like in these playoff finals. And tactically, if you decide to go one way and it doesn't work, people are going to be critical of you. But Frank's going to get this throughout his career in regular season games, in cup matches, in playoff games. These things happen, and of course, what you've got to do is assess it or learn from it and say, well, was there anything we could have done differently, or I could have done differently to change the outcome? But obviously the players, with the goals that they gave away, sometimes as a coach, you can't legislate for that. So sometimes you're reacting to what the players do as well. So, yeah, of course you learn, and it's a great experience. But it's his first season as well. He's done incredibly well with Derby to get them to that playoff final. So I think we have to put it all into perspective. And actually, what he's done with Derby could make Chelsea kind of even more keen to possibly take him there as well. So just because maybe that tactically didn't work out for him in the playoff final, he still proved this season, in his first season, he knows absolutely what he's doing.
And going to Villa now, I mean, Grealish obviously gets a lot of credit for his performances throughout the season, but how crucial were Hourihane and McGinn in this win? They really rose to the occasion, didn't they?
They really, and actually look at the semi-finals as well. Conor Hourihane came off the bench for Glenn Whelan, who started the game. Hourihane scored, stayed in the team for that second leg, and you're right, in the final was brilliant. But John McGinn, all season long, has been just brilliant. You know, his tenacity, does a lot of work off the ball, makes a lot of tackles, great quality, can score goals. And again, the bravery. You know, not many midfielders, attacking midfielders, would have challenged the goalkeeper like that, because they would have feared of getting absolutely clattered. But he thought, I'll go in there, maybe he'll make a mistake, gets a bit of good fortune, and he deserves that good fortune on the season that he's had. He has been a huge part of why Villa have got promoted. Dean Smith is the architect of the promotion, no doubt about that. But Tyrone Mings, Tammy Abraham, Grealish are kind of the first three names you think about with Villa. But John McGinn, if you speak to Villa fans and people who've watched Villa play this season, he has been instrumental in them getting promoted. And he was my man of the match, actually. El Ghazi was pretty close, but John McGinn was my man of the match. Not necessarily because the goal that he scored, but his overall performance, the energy levels was fantastic from him.
And you've touched on it there, but for Dean Smith, how good is it to see him get a chance now in the Premier League? He offers a lot, doesn't he?
He fully deserves it as well. This is not by accident. Chris Wilder as well was in the studio, and it's great to see those two at the end of the game together. Two English coaches going to get the opportunity. They're not going to kind of get dispensed with now. Their teams have got promoted. They're tactically very good. Clearly, the man management, their motivation skills are all there. They've got everything they need. They've proved that they've got everything to be successful in the Premier League, and it's great that they're going to get a shot at that as well. And Dean's done an incredible job coming in when he did. The pressure that he was under being a Villa fan, I think, actually added to that rather than made it easier for him, because the fans expected or hoped a boyhood fan of the club could take them to the Premier League. And he galvanised that team, made just the right choices, got them fitter, stronger, faster, better organised. They were in better shape for this playoff final than they were against Fulham. I absolutely believe that, even though it was a younger squad with less experience. And it's all down to Dean Smith driving them forward and actually making them believe in themselves and rising to the challenge. And that wasn't easy at a club like Aston Villa, where they were desperate to get back to the Premier League. And he's a lovely guy as well. He's really helped us out a lot during the course of the season with, he kind of advises on maybe the team that he's going to play and why he's playing things a certain way. He's so helpful. He's a wonderful guy, and I'm just so pleased for him. But again, it's tough on Frank Lampard, who again has been very helpful to us this season. So the Championship has been full of good guys, great coaches, and wonderful to see two of them get a chance in the Premier League.
And now for Dean Smith as well, the work doesn't stop here. Of course, a lot of work needs to be done during the summer for him, because there's an awful lot of loan players in that team as well.
Yeah, there's probably more work to do at Aston Villa than at Sheffield United and Norwich. I don't see either of them maybe getting. You're probably looking at, I would say, 5 or 6 players need to come into that Villa side. They need to sort out the loan situation. Will Mings be able to come back? Will Abraham be able to come back? I feel they need 2 fullbacks. They might look at the goalkeeping situation as well. But depending on the loan players, they're going to have to sort out a centre forward and centre half. So there's the key positions. The central midfield 3 is a Premier League 3 in my book. Hourihane, McGinn and Grealish, they'll have no problem rising to the challenge. So it's at the other ends, kind of both ends of the pitch, they need to sort things out. And it's going to be difficult, because obviously getting promoted as late as they have, now they're suddenly maybe putting their kind of plans into place and how much money they want to spend and are their targets available. So they're really going to have to hurry over the next kind of 6 weeks to get the players in and sort out those loan players. And there's a lot of work for Villa to do to make sure that they start the Premier League season in good shape.
Yes, certainly a tough job on Dean Smith's hands next season, with not a lot of time to prepare for the Premier League itself. Now let's turn our attention to the Sky Bet League One playoff final, Sunderland taking on Charlton at Wembley. Here's a reminder of what happened in the match, with Don Goodman himself alongside Gary Wheat.
Power again, looking for the Sunderland captain, George Honeyman. Wyke is at the far post. Driven in by Honeyman. There's Chris Maguire, he sends it back goalwards. And Dylan Phillips was guarding his near post. A good start by Sunderland. Well, that's problematic. It's a huge problem. Charlton Charlton Athletic cannot believe it. Dylan Phillips looks at Naby Sarr. What a place to make a mistake like that. Sunderland have hit the front in quite extraordinary circumstances.
My goodness me, that is heartbreaking.
Now it's Taylor!
That was the moment when he closed his eyes last night. He was probably dreaming about it nestling in the top corner.
Dijksteel, Aribo, Taylor. Aribo again, Lyle Taylor pulling wide again. Is this the chance? It is the chance, and it's the goal that they craved. Purrington arriving. A huge sigh of relief from Dylan Phillips. But Charlton did not walk away. They responded in the best possible way.
Well, this is the Charlton that we have learned to know.
Maguire sends that cross in. And Morgan just couldn't quite sort his feet out. Williams cross. Parker tried the clever finish, hoping that finally he could come up with his first goal for Charlton. Josh Cullen, he's dug the cross out, they're queuing up, important touch of Flanagan, but forced in! Patrick Bowyer! These Charlton players write their legend! Wembley, so cruel for Sunderland again! They will not want to see this place again. Absolutely stunned. But Wembley's a place for winners. Charlton Athletic, a club which has been in chaos off the pitch, is in harmony on it. And these fearless young men are taking this proud club back to the championship. They don't fear anyone. They don't fear any occasion. They will relish being back in English football's second tier. At the back there, Lee Bowyer, who did not even want to be a manager, yet he has done this.
Yes, so that last gasp goal from Patrick Bowyer seeing Charlton promoted back to the Sky Bet Championship. Now something a little bit different. Here's manager Lee Bowyer with a rousing speech after the match to his players.
What you've given me from day one in Portugal to today, I couldn't ask for no more. That's you as players. This thing that we put together is unique, and I've said that from the beginning, and we're going to go on a journey. I said top two, sorry, we finished third. But do you know the most important thing? All my staff, everybody's played a part, and this club now is in the best place it's been in a long time. And that's down to all of us. Them fans, they love you. You're heroes now. You don't realise what you've just done. You deserve all the praise that you're going to get. Every single one of us. And can someone just tell me where we're going?
We are Goalkeepers and we are Goalkeepers! We are Goalkeepers and we are Goalkeepers!
Don, now coming to you after this, you covered this League One playoff final. How impressed were you with Charlton after that horrendous start that they had? They kept calm, didn't they, on an occasion that could have absolutely got to them there.
Well, actually, for 15 minutes, they didn't keep calm, and that was the crucial part of the game, as far as I was concerned. Sunderland just did not go for the jugular when they had Charlton really rattled. I mean, and a mistake like that is bound to have an adverse effect on the players. You look at Lee Bowyer; he was shell shocked because his best laid plans and everything out the window with such a mistake. But from about 15-20 minutes, once they calmed down and settled down back into the game, they composed themselves. And then the little tactical tweak at half-time, pushing Bielik forward. They didn't need 3 central defenders against Charlie Wyke, and that was something I was saying throughout the first half. I didn't really see the benefit of the system that Lee had chosen against Sunderland. So at half-time, I think that was a crucial change, and of course they grew and went from strength to strength, and ultimately the equalising goal, was another crucial moment within the game that really gave Charlton a lift, and they went on from there. And I don't think anybody can dispute really over the course of the 90 minutes that they were the better team.
Don, can I just ask a question here about that game? Because obviously I was there watching it. The save the keeper made from the Ledbetter shot when it was 1-0.
Yeah.
I think that was, we said at the time, or I thought at the time, that was going to be crucial. And that, as you say, Sunderland didn't really go for that. That was probably the best chance after the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when you think about it, it was a long-range effort that the goalkeepers made a brilliant save from. And I remember thinking at the time, how important might that be? But at that point, Sunderland were on top. That was, without them throwing the kitchen sink at Charlton, they were in the ascendancy because Charlton was so shell-shocked. And they just never stepped on from there. But going back to that save, it was a very, very good save. It must have done the goalkeeper the world of good in terms of the mistake that he had made, and not many people actually reflected back on that after the game. I think towards the end I mentioned it and how important that has or was proving to be, and then of course that moment with the last kick of the game, which of course if you're in any way, shape or form connected with Sunderland is just the worst way. I think you'd rather go into a playoff final and get absolutely hammered 3-0 and be the second best for long periods rather than have something like that happen to you with the last kick of the game and you've got no way of coming back. But yeah, the save was very, very important, both for the goalkeeper and to keep the score at just a 1-0 at the time.
Yeah, it did take real guts, didn't it, from Dylan Phillips to make that save and come back from that error, because that could have, we've seen it with other keepers, Loris Karius, for example, could really be a killer for his career.
I mean, look, who'd be a goalkeeper? Because every little mistake they make, most of the time, it ends up in a goal for the opposition. I think that's why I played up front and Hinchcliffe played fullback. Like the little mistakes that we made weren't highlighted so much. But it was a really important save for his confidence. Because at that point he must have been wanting the ground to open up, swallow him up. He really, really must have. We had our cameras on him. His face. He didn't need to say anything about how he must have been feeling. So, to slowly but surely pull yourself round, recover, make that save, was credit to him. But really, that's where I would be a little bit critical of Sunderland. They didn't really, apart from that Ledbetter shot that he saved, they didn't ask him any other questions. They had lots of set pieces, corners. They didn't swing the ball in over his head, put him under pressure, shoot from anywhere. When a goalkeeper's made a mistake like that, you wouldn't you? And there was just none of that really. And so I think, a playoff final is a game where the following day you want to look back, and if you lose, you don't want to have any regrets. And I'm pretty sure that the Sunderland players will look back. They'll have woke up the following day and they would have had regrets, and that's unfortunate for them.
And you mentioned it there, but in terms of the fans as well, how disappointed will they be? They've seen the side losing the Checkatrade final, missed out on automatic promotion, of course, when it was in their hands, and now to concede so late in the playoff final, it's not good signs for the club, is it?
Well, I don't know about not good signs for the club. It's heartbreaking at the time. Sometimes as a football club like that, I mean, I'll highlight, a club like Wolves, another club that's close to my heart. You have to take 2 steps backward to come again and come strong. And I'm hoping and praying that that's what Sunderland can do, because sometimes in the face of adversity, that's where you actually learn more about yourself. And Jack Ross will reflect. I do hope Sunderland are patient with him, because I do think he's a very, very bright young manager who will get it right, given an opportunity. But with every passing season that a club like Sunderland spend in the third tier of English football, the pressure grows. We saw it at Leeds United, spent time there, Manchester City, Sheffield Wednesday. There have been so many clubs that have ended up in League One, and actually 5 of the top 8 in League One this season are former Premier League clubs. And then you look at Bradford at the bottom, going down to League Two as a former Premier League club. So once you end up down at that level, it can be very, very difficult. You are everybody's cup final week in, week out, and you've got to rise above it and stamp your class and authority. So I think having had his first season, I'm confident that Jack Ross will know an awful lot more about League One and what it's going to take to get Sunderland out of League One and what type of players and characters he's going to need in order for that to happen. And I would be quietly confident, without going overboard, that if Sunderland have patience, that Jack Ross can get them out next season.
Well, coming back to Charlton now as well, with Lee Bowyer, he's obviously done an incredible job in not so easy circumstances himself, of course. Well,
I mean, you cannot possibly praise Lee Bowyer enough for the job that he has done. Okay, last season they were disappointed to lose to Shrewsbury Town in the semi-finals of the playoffs, but just for them, in the backdrop of all that fan chaos and animosity towards the owner, and there's been a little bit more of that this season, but probably not on quite the same level from certainly not publicly anyway. And what a job he's done. And actually, you know what? Let's not beat about the bush here. They've ended up the second half of the season, or certainly the last 12, 15 games of the season. They were the best team in League One, bar none. They were scoring goals for fun. People were struggling to break them down and score against them. There were clean sheet after clean sheet, and they were winning games of football. So, that's one of the reasons I tipped them. Obviously, with my Sunderland heart, I wanted Sunderland to prevail, but I knew it was going to be very, very difficult. Because I'd seen Charlton and I'd seen Sunderland, and I honestly felt that Charlton just had the edge in the way they were playing, and all of the credit has to go to Lee Bowyer, his backroom team, and the players for that. They were simply sensational the way they ended the season. They had a real scare against Doncaster Rovers. They had the most horrific start to the actual final itself, and yet Lee Bowyer talks in all of his interviews in the build-up to that final about the togetherness, about them as a group of players, and actually comparing it to the Leeds United dressing room he had when they went all the way to the Champions League final. High praise indeed. But that togetherness is what won the day for Charlton Athletic and Lee Bowyer, and there's no amount of praise that will be too much for him.
Yeah, you've mentioned obviously that togetherness, and there are a lot of players who are out of contract, but Bowyer himself out of contract. How important is it that group now stays together to be successful in the Championship?
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of keeping players and in terms of keeping Lee Bowyer, it was a must-win game, wasn't it, really? I mean, there must be several clubs after some of their best players. For me, Lee Bowyer, you cannot give him high enough credit for the job he's done over the last couple of seasons. Quite remarkable in the backdrop of all the off-field problems, the fractions between supporters and ownership, and that is what remains a problem. The ownership is not resolved as we speak, and therefore there is still that uncertainty. If you're Lee Bowyer, can you put pen to paper on a new deal while the ownership remains the same? If you're two or three of their star players who will be courted by, with respect, perhaps bigger clubs at a higher level, are you going to sign for a club that you don't know what the ownership is going to be? You don't know whether the manager's going to be there. So whilst everyone's happy and it's brilliant for Charlton, they got promoted back to the Championship, there are still some things rumbling in the background, reference the stability of the football club, and until that is sorted out, I'm not really sure anything can happen. And in the meantime, the football club are in danger of losing key people, and none more so than Lee Bowyer, who, there are several jobs available in the Championship, and if I were connected with any of those clubs, he would be one of the names at the very, very top of any list that I was forming.
Yes, Lee Bowyer certainly done a fantastic job at the Valley. Next, time to look at this Sky Bet League 2 playoff final. With the highlights, here's Sky Sports commentator Gary Weaver alongside Danny Higginbottom.
And it goes towards Amund, who's decent in the air. Jamil Matt was flying in behind him.
You see, it's a good ball that's played in. Amund wins it at the near post. And Jamil Matt does get on the wrong side of Monte, but he's just not able to get the finishing touches.
There's Norwood. He's charging forward, and he's picked out the run here of Caprice, who wraps his foot around the ball. Norwood! Great stop from Day! It was at him, but it was travelling.
Wonderful pullback, and he couldn't have caught it any better, Norwood. And it's a wonderful save from Dave because there's plenty of pace and power on it.
Butler, who's had an impressive game at left back. Another teasing cross, and it was kicked out somehow. Jamil Mack got to it.
It's a wonderful ball in from Butler. The one man that doesn't switch off is Davis in goal. That is an outstanding save, outstanding reactions.
Long throw, that one was really speared in. Jamil Matt got away from McNulty. Monte's challenge, and it's off the post, but the referee has blown for offside. Newport want a penalty.
I thought that was the first thing the penalty was going to be given. Jamil Matt, as he goes through, he's given offside. He's given offside against the player the ball goes to. But as you can see here, could possibly be a penalty. As you can see, the left leg from Monte.
Podrick Hammond trying to twist away from McNulty. Still trying to get away from McNulty, but he couldn't get away from McNulty. And again, Newport appealing for a penalty at the other end. Norwood goes down. O'Brien's challenge on him. The referee across on the scene to break up the coming together of O'Brien and Norwood. And that's his second yellow, and he's off. Newport County down to 10. Mickey Mellon shakes the hand of Mark O'Brien. He made the decision to take out James Norwood. As soon as the referee saw it that way, he was in trouble. Norwood with eyes on that and a foot on it, but he couldn't direct it on target.
It's a great run from Norwood. It's a good ball as well. And he does get there first. He's just not able to get the right contact to get it on target. Give credit to Day. He comes out as quick as he can.
Norwood. Perkins on the approach. Pringle. It's Ollie Banks. He can hit them. We've seen that before.
Similar position to the goal against Forest Green as well. And it falls nicely for him. You can imagine that goal's going through his head. He strikes it well.
Caprice. This is Buxton. Away from Backinson. This is Pringle. Now Caprice. Caprice with the cross. The header. It's in! It's Connor Jennings! Tranmere Rovers, whose double dip led to their world caving in, could be getting back to where they were in double quick time.
Tranmere, we haven't really asked too many questions of Newport, but then the one bit of quality that comes into the box from Caprice, it's a wonderful ball in. And who's waiting at the far post? Thank you very much. It's Connor Jennings. What a time to score so late on in the game. What an experience and what a reaction.
Mike Dean can't quite believe it, but his beloved Tranmere Rovers are standing at the gateway to League One after all they've been through. Tranmere Rovers, a club in ruins, now a club reborn. They tell League One, we are back. They stand in the royal box as football royalty, with smiles as wide as the Mersey.
So the most dramatic of winners in extra time to see Tranmere win and be promoted for the second time in a row up to Sky Bet League One. Here's manager Mickey Mellon's reaction to the match.
We're made up. It's a lot of hard work going into a fairy tale of a day. Delighted to be standing in this unbelievable arena and to come out on top and be promoted to League One's fantastic.
Where does this sit in the achievement scale for you?
And amazing, right up there, isn't it? We'll never really ever tipped to be standing there and saying we're going to be a League One club too. So in order to do that, a lot of hard work's going in, but we're delighted to be able to say that.
What was the game like? Obviously very tight affair.
Very tough to real honest groups of players. I knew it was going to be like that. We were made to fight all the way, even when they went down to 10 men. We were made to fight and battle. They're always a threat. great credit to Newport. My players stuck at it as well, and we're just grateful that we got over the line.
Did you expect it to be a tough game? Obviously, they took Mansfield all the way as well.
Without a doubt. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be tough, so I wasn't surprised about that. They're a real good group with a real big heart about them. But a lot like ourselves, actually, they'll keep fighting for the manager, for the club. Like I say, we're just pleased it went on our side.
What's it been like this season? Obviously, we just heard you. No one really tipped you to get out of the conference, let alone get into League One. But this season's been unbelievable for you, lads.
Incredible. A lot of hard work. I've got to say that. A lot of hard work. The players deserve credit for that, because it has been hard work and belief within our own group, without shouting about ourselves. We knew with the goal scoring, we knew we could keep clean sheets, and that's important. So we're delighted that we were able to all to come together today for a fantastic day.
There's been a lot made of James Norwood this season, but it's key moments such as Scott Davis, your keeper today, pulling off monumental saves, really.
Well, that's a game changer. That was a game changer. But the keeper's made some good saves. I know. I thought the first half Norwood was a little snapshot, a little volley, with other little bits and bats. But it was a really tight game. Really tight game. Like I expected it to be. But like I said, delighted.
Managers obviously don't like going through the playoffs, but your team seem to thrive on it.
It's not a choice. Trust me. It's just the way that it goes. But they've got a real good fighting spirit about them. They know the environment that they're going to go into. They're very educated in that, because they've done it for the past few years, so nothing really seems to daunt them. So they just keep going, but it was a special day today.
Just a word on the fans, obviously fantastic support once again.
I couldn't believe how many was here. I knew that the numbers were good, but when I came out and I seen they'd filled the whole lower tier, I just thought, wow, that just gives you a boost, a lift. And the Newport fans, they felt that end as well, so it was a real good spectacle for League 2 football. Shows you a lot of interest in the division, which is important, because it's not just about the top clubs. There's a lot of community clubs like us in Newport that have fantastic support. So it was a great day.
Final question then, how much are you looking forward to next season? Obviously a lot of desire to go on now and play some really big teams in that division.
I'm not even bothered about that, to be honest. I've got to be honest with you. I'm going to make sure that I enjoy this evening. I'm going to have a brilliant bus trip home, and I'm going to make sure that I take everything in and we have a great time.
Now, Andy, looking at that League 2 playoff final, back-to-back promotions is no mean feat for Tranmere, is it? How crucial will their previous playoff final experience have been for them going into that match?
Well, we did talk about this before the game, and Mickey Mellon talked about it as well. But I think with hindsight and the fact that they won, we could say, well, yes, maybe it played a part. But actually, watching that game, it could easily have gone the other way, and maybe should have gone the other way, because Newport should have had a penalty. At the time, everyone's a bit unsure, was it offside first or was it a foul first? But clearly, they weren't offside. O'Brien would have been offside when he took control of the ball, but the ball was still on its way. So the flag going up, the offside decision being given, apparently was incorrect, and it should have been a penalty. That was the first infringement. So Newport could easily have won that, and then it wouldn't really have mattered, how many games in the past Tranmere have played there. So it was such a tight game, and clearly going into extra time, winning it in the way they did Tranmere is dramatic, and it's great for them. But I do feel for Newport, because we knew it was going to be a tight game. One goal was going to settle it, and if Newport had got it, I would have thought that they probably would have gone on and got promoted. So it's really cruel, but that's what can happen sometimes. You don't get a decision, the opposition get one good chance and take it, and it's them that go up and not you. So it could have easily gone Newport's way, that game.
Yeah, certainly tight margins in these playoff finals, isn't there? Don, like Andy mentioned there, how well did Newport actually do to get in that position, to almost hold on for penalties as well, despite, playing that long period of time with 10 men?
Yeah, they will be hurting, and actually of the three losers, they are probably the ones that probably, I say they won't have any regrets. Of course, they'll have regrets about having to play with 10 men, but they actually did themselves proud, I felt, and were unlucky. Of the three, I think they were the unlucky losers of the three clubs for me, really, in reality. But your point is, how far have they come in such a short space of time? I remember being up at Hartlepool and commentating on the game where Hartlepool got relegated, and of course that was all because Newport County managed to salvage something on the very last dying embers of their game in order to survive in the Football League. Now that is 2 seasons ago. It really isn't that long ago that they were very, very nearly out of the Football League. So, and since then they've had so many giant killings in the cup competitions, picked themselves up, and cemented themselves in the top half of League Two. And as Andy's already just pointed out, was desperately unlucky that a decision didn't help their cause. So they can be unbelievably proud of their efforts. And again, hopefully, if they can hold on to Mike Flynn, again, you would think he would be a manager that would be sought after. But they need to hold on to him. They need to hold on to the key players, and then you would expect them to kick on again next season, because what they showed proves that they are certainly good enough to be mixing it at the top of League Two next season.
Yeah, Andy, Dom mentions there that Newport need to keep hold of Mike Flynn, but James Norwood, leading scorer in the EFL this season, how crucial will it be for Tranmere to keep hold of him in League One? He offers an awful lot, doesn't he?
It was true. I've obviously seen him play a lot during the course of the season, and his goal tally speaks for itself. But I'm sure if you looked at those three finals and you worked out who covered the most ground as an individual, James Norwood it was absolutely incredible to see his work rate. In extra time, he was sprinting after centre halves to close them, sprinting after centre halves, not just jogging or looking tired, as if it was the first minute of the game. His fitness levels, his attitude, his appetite, there's a nastiness to his game as well, because he turned and gave David Perkins a bit of a mouthful when he didn't play a forward ball. So he's got everything you want. If you're a coach in the modern game looking at a striker, yes, you want goals. Of course, you've got to tick that box. But the work rate, you start the press, you lead the defensive kind of setup for the team as well. His work rate, I've never seen anything like it. I was truly astonished, because you see a lot of these goal scorers who are kind of maybe 6-yard box and they're there for the tap-ins. But the amount of work he does for the team, the angles he runs, running the channels, holding the ball up, the strength that he shows, the leadership. He's everything you want, and he could comfortably play in the Championship. Absolutely no problem with that at all, because as I say, he's got all the attributes that you need for a modern striker. So there'll be many, many coaches who maybe have slightly disregarded him because he scored a lot of goals at the level he's been at this season. But if you watch the semi-finals and the final alone, you must have been mightily impressed with his work off the ball and his desire to kind of be the team player and score goals as well. He was truly astonishing.
And just to echo those sentiments, we did a preview show on Sky Sports of all the playoffs, and in the League Two one, I did pick him out as the player, and I ran 4 clips into the show, and it was important, I felt, for me. One of the clips was highlighting that work rate that Andy has just mentioned. So it was no surprise to me when you saw him flying around all over the place. And when you speak about a desire to win and an aggressive streak, he was angry with Perkins, and he's got that angry, nasty streak in him that I think the top players, I think you need to have that streak in you to get as much out of yourself as you possibly can. And I totally agree with Hinchy there. I would be shocked, and I mean truly shocked, if Tranmere Rovers are able to hold on to him, despite the fact that they've won the game and they'll be in League One next season.
And also you've got to remember, Don, as well, playing at Wembley, the heat of the day, people talk about how it saps the energy and the pitch can take it out of your legs. So to actually do that on such a big occasion, when a lot of players actually, they wither, don't they? The actual size of the game.
It's the emotional fatigue. It's the emotional fatigue. That's why so many players, you see players week in, week out, and you barely see a player get cramped. But at Wembley, in every game, you see players drop down. And it is that emotional fatigue of the big occasion that takes it out of players. And he didn't seem to suffer, and he was one of the few.
He actually got stronger. The more the pressure was there, the more kind of there was kind of the expectation on his shoulders. And that, again, if you're going to play in the Championship and maybe beyond, being able to respond when you're under pressure he seems to take it on board and just deal with it and just get on with it and say, yeah, I'm able to do this. Apparently, they kind of compared him to Jamie Vardy, not just his goal scoring, his work rate, but that edge to his game as well, that bit of nastiness even with his own teammates. So if you can get anywhere close to performing how Vardy has done, then he's got a sensational few years ahead.
And of course, he's available on a free transfer as well, so you can imagine there's a lot of interest in his signature as well. But looking at Tranmere themselves, they're obviously building something there. Kind of like the builders outside your hotel there, Don. Back-to-back promotions though as well. Could Tranmere complete the treble next year, do you believe, and you get to the Championship? Because it is, traditionally Tranmere is one of the bigger clubs in the EFL, isn't it?
It is, and I do think that they will be fine in terms of I hope that they're not ensconced in a relegation battle. But you have to remember where they've come and how quick they've come. It's not one of the so-called bigger clubs getting promoted that you think may go on and challenge. Wolves, for instance, when they got promoted from League One, nobody was surprised that they just missed out on the playoffs the following season. Sheffield United, again, made a good fist of it, didn't they, when they got up? So there are clubs that come out of League One that you think, yeah, they could realistically target a sort of a top half stroke playoff finish. I wouldn't put Tranmere Rovers in that bracket. I would imagine that they will have to regroup. They'll have to take stock of the players that they've got at their disposal, and then make their plans accordingly. But I would imagine if you offered anybody connected with Tranmere Rovers a comfortable mid-table finish with a potential to build for the following season next, I think they would probably take that.
And another building analogy there from you, Don, as well. Fantastic stuff. Listen, guys, it's been a fantastic season to have you on board on the podcast, so we thank you very much for that. And yeah, and that's not just it for the podcast this year, of course. We're on every single week throughout the off-season as well. So, guys, once again, thank you very much for joining us to preview and review all the matches. Pleasure. And Don, you enjoy the rest of your holiday.
I will do. Pleasure. Great to talk to you.
Don, you can get on with building your aviary now.
I'm going to build it right now as we speak.
Have a good summer.
Cheers, lads.
The official EFL Podcast. The best reaction to all the match action. Available every week.